Hey everybody, how's it going? Daniel Kaplan here. So, in this video, I'm going to be running through the three ways that you can get alpha on the real estate development side. And this probably is also the same for just buying any real estate in general. I see too many people try and overcomplicate it, or they will get caught in certain nuances. There'll be an analysis paralysis and not know which way to go. Where do I optimize? What are my leverage points? What kind of tools do I have in my tool belt here? And so I wanted to make this video to really dumb it down as much as humanly possible, because I used to also have this issue of thinking of all these crazy ideas, and I would be stuck trying to build all these intricate things that actually did not provide value, because in reality there's only three leverage points that you have. And the first one that I'm going to say is deal sourcing. And in my opinion, this is the number one way that you can get alpha, but it's also the highest barrier of entry and probably the most challenging of the three. And it's the ability to find those deals that nobody else can find. You need to be thinking about your competition. People tend to have this somewhat of a fallacy in real estate where they're like, it's a people business, right? It's all about relationships, which it is, do not get me wrong. But at the end of the day, it is player versus player. You are competing. If I have three of the developers in Greensboro, North Carolina versus me, every single lead that I get, I am competing versus them. Anytime that I'm getting GCs to go and bid, or we're looking at on-market deals, right? Like, I'm competing versus these people, because at the end of the day, they might be beating me in capital. They might be beating me on being able to run it more efficiently and have cheaper costs. So for me, how I always try to find that alpha is being able to find the best deals possible. Because if you can buy deals at such a good basis, everything else will fall into place. And especially as you get to scale, when you're doing $5 million, $10 million projects. If you can go and get these deals for a 30% lower basis than most individuals, you're going to add an extra couple $100,000 to your bottom line here. And when you are starting out, it's also the number one skill to learn, because it's the hardest one to do, right? When you're talking about capital, I think capital is probably the easiest leverage point, right? Go and find a family office, go and find a good investor to partner up with. Finding capital is relatively easy, right? You could get alpha where most guys would have debt that costs them 8% and you might get 7. But I think that more so comes from time in the game, which when you are starting out, it's not necessarily something that you can really control. As you get seasoned, as you make a name for yourself, yes, you are going to have lower cost of capital, but when you are newer to the space and you are just starting out doing deals, it's going to be a lot harder. Now, hitting on the deal sourcing side, especially in development, right? We are competing for land, and most people, when they are trying to find deals, is a couple of options. Number one is they're just going to the MLS, right, and they're bidding on market deals. Number two is from agents, right? Like agents will maybe some off market deals, but most of the time that they're connecting with those agents. Number three is maybe wholesalers, getting on these wholesaler lists to get deals sent to you. Now, for me, I do not like to relinquish control. I want to have control over my pipeline, because I don't trust these other idiots to go and get me the deals that I need to go and get. And so I want to bring this in-house. I want to be vertically integrated. I want to master the art of deal sourcing. And that is where it comes down to being savvy, building better strategies, having better channels, building a better sales team. That is the number one leverage point that you can have. Now, the next one is capital. And I used to think that capital was not as important. I always said, it's pretty easy to go and raise capital, to go and get people to go in and fund your deals. But at the end of the day, I was working with this family office. They only do iOS, so they're out in New Jersey, and they are so well capitalized, and it's twofold. Fold number one is that they can move on these deals extremely fast, because they just have billions on the sidelines ready to get deployed. So they can move extremely fast. But number two is they can chase a basis that is different than everybody else, because most people need to go and actually put into their model the cost of capital and going to get all this debt. So when you can go and remove that from the equation, you can bid a little bit better on these deals. You can buy deals that other firms might not be able to go and perform on. But I feel like you need to have a shit ton of capital to really reap these benefits. Then the other part of the capital is like getting really good terms. So if I'm looking at a construction loan, instead of getting a 10% interest at 2 points, maybe I can get 1 point and 9.3% interest. Right? It adds up at scale and across a lot of deals. And the last one, which is what I suck at the most, so that's why I'm not going to hit on it too hard, because I don't believe I'm able to. But it's costs. At the end of the day, when you're running your model and you're underwriting these deals, if one guy in the market can build for 150 a foot and you can build for 130 a foot, and you're scaling that across 10 projects, that is unbelievable. This is the one thing that I have not unlocked yet, which I will with time. But it's the one thing that I'm like, fuck, I wish I had this, because I know how valuable it is, especially when you are bidding on these deals, you are doing your models, you are doing the underwriting. Like, at the end of the day, modeling is just numbers in a spreadsheet, and one of those biggest variables that you can manipulate is your cost, and that will ultimately, all else equal, that will probably get you the best bang for your buck. So I wish I had that, but I don't. So when you're trying to figure out how can I find alpha, what are the leverage points, what are the most important things for me to think about, it has to be in one of these buckets. How can I get better deals? How can I actually perform on these deals for cheaper? And how can I get cheaper capital? Like, that should be the only three things that you are thinking of. Everything else is a waste of time. If you are building like an AI that can go and underwrite a deal for you and go and do all this like bullshit, it's a waste of your time, right? Like, I was just watching a video of, I think the big issue with AI right now is everyone thinks they need to build these AI tools, but at the end of the day, like, you need to be thinking, is this going to make me more money? Right? If it's not, we're wasting our fucking time here. Like, if you're building an AI that can make really good websites, who gives a shit? If I can build an AI that can organize my Gmail and be my own personal assistant, like, what the fuck is that going to do for me? Right? It's a waste of time. So you need to be thinking within these three leverage points that you have, and how can I get the most alpha possible, and how can I beat all of my competition in one of these categories? You need to be a categorical winner in one of these things. And I'm trying to remember who this podcast was from. It was fucking amazing. It was some VC, and essentially what he was saying is, when you're investing in companies, you want to find an N of 1 individual in a certain category. So, like, what is the thing that they are unbelievable at that they will dominate every single person? So, for example, you have Elon Musk, right? He is an N of 1 in terms of his work ethic and his creative thinking. You have Steve Jobs, who's more like N of 1 in product design and architecture. And it's like those individuals who are absolutely dominant in one of those categories within the broad scheme of entrepreneurship, of development, that is how you win, that is how you get your alpha, and that is how you will fucking crush it.